Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Today, we're going to have a webinar. We are hosting this webinar, which is about cultivating a winning mindset. We all know right now, everything you have to do, we have to strive for the best. And so today, we do have a wonderful speaker from Top Golf, Miss Latisha Brown, and she's going to be talking about being your biggest cheerleader, faith as a foundation, cultivating gratitude, aligning your values, and living your purpose. So at the end of this presentation, we are going to keep it open for any questions. If you have any questions, great. If we have no questions, no problem. And this event is recorded, so it's going to be posted and you should have access to it on our website. So Miss Brown is a native of Washington, D.C., and she recently moved back to Atlanta last month, and she received her bachelor's degree in hospitality management from Morgan State University. So yes, we have an alumni presenting today. It's great to have you on today, Miss Brown, and I'm going to pass the floor over to you now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it. So I am going to share my screen so that we can go ahead and get started. Thank you again for allowing me to speak today. So we are going to talk about cultivating a winning mindset. And so what that means for me and what that means for others may be a little different, but I'm hoping that we'll be able to align on some things that not only that I've used over my career and also in my life, but also some things that you guys can look at a little differently as well. So give me just one moment. Something's happening with my screen. Gotta love Zoom. Sorry about that. Give me just one moment. Okay. No matter how much you test it, you still find yourself in a situation where it doesn't. I'm sorry about this.
You're fine.
Is it my slideshow again?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you seeing my notes again?
Yes.
Okay, of course you are. Okay. Is it okay if the notes are on the screen?
Yeah, that's completely fine.
Okay, so we're just going to keep it that way. That way we can get going. So sorry about that. So as you mentioned, I graduated from Morgan State in 2002, where I majored in hospitality management. I know oftentimes people don't pursue the careers that they actually pursue in college, but I was fortunate to find what I thought I was really passionate about. Currently, I'm the National Director of Operations of Topgolf. Previously, I worked in the restaurant portion of the hospitality industry. I was a joint venture partner for Bonefish Grill, a director of operations for TGI Fridays, and then I've also worked for Chick-fil-A as a customer service supervisor. And so for me, I spent my years at Morgan really working right down the street at the White Marsh and TGI Fridays. So we're going to talk a little bit about cultivating a winning mindset and what that means. And so when I was asked about cultivating a winning mindset, I thought about, man, what am I going to talk about? Because for me, I'm definitely not an expert. There are absolutely been times in my life that I have failed. There have been times in my life that I have thought I was failing, even when I was being successful. And that's when I realized that in order for me to adapt a certain mindset, it was important for me to be disciplined. I needed to define what winning meant for me. And that's looked different over time. There have been times in my life where winning for me was this huge goal, whether that was, okay, I wanted to become a director of operations, which seems so long ago that was really my first and primary goal. But then there's also been times that small goals have been truly what I was trying to accomplish. And so let's talk a little bit more about what this means in my world. And so I'm a little bit of a nerd. So I looked up the definition of cultivate. And so I found this definition that said, try to acquire or develop a quality, sentiment, or a skill. Okay. So what about self-cultivation, right? Because we're talking about this winning mindset. And in order for you to do that, it has to be something that you are developing within yourself. And so when I looked up self-cultivation, it's defined as the development of one's mind or capacity through one's own efforts. Okay. So I said, that sounds a little bit about what I feel like I've done in my life. So let me look it up again. And that's when I found the definition that I was like, okay, this is it. The action and effort of keeping the balance between inner and outer selves and between self and others. And so really two things jumped out for me. One, that in order to cultivate a winning mindset, it really just starts with trying. Your goal is to try and to do it over and over again, even if you're failing or it seems like you're failing. Even when you aren't where you thought you were going to be, because trust me, during my time at Morgan State, there were times that I had a dream that changed every semester. And the second thing is to make sure that you balance between your inner self and others, because that's important. It's important not just for you to be cultivating a winning mindset for yourself, but also for you to be looking to impact other people as well. And for you to be ensuring that those around you are being impacted positively by the mindset that you display each and every day. If you think about this year, 2020 has been a trying time. There have been so many things that we've had to face. And it seems like at a time where we're talking about winning, all we've had to really do over this year is lose. I don't know about you, but I've lost time. I've lost money. I've lost the ability to have a routine, which is so important. The connections to other people. Mm-hmm. I've actually lost people in my life that I've relied on to provide me with mentorship and guidance. And then also, that's just what was happening within my four walls. If you think about what we're watching happen in this world, it can almost seem like you're in a movie, except that it's real life. So how do you keep the mindset of winning when it seems as if everything around you says otherwise. And so for me, I rely on a couple things, because a mindset is really based off of the fact that you need to consistently ensure that you're able to win and that you're able to sustain that success. And so for me, there's 5 things that I base that on. How do I keep my faith as my foundation? How do I ensure that I'm my biggest cheerleader? How do I practice daily routines? That's where that discipline comes in. How do I ensure that the steps that I'm taking align with the values and my beliefs? And how to ensure that for me, winning is also living my purpose. It's important for things that I do to align with who I am and who I want to be. So let's break that down a little bit. Keeping faith is my foundation. And so it really doesn't matter what you believe, no matter what your guide is, your North Star. It's just important that you have one. You have to have a belief that winning is possible. And a belief is really the first step of a winning mindset. Imagine waking up every day and saying, I want to do a bad job, or I want to lose today. That is absolutely never going to put you in the position to truly win. And so for me, my faith teaches me that it doesn't matter what weapons may form. I have a belief that they will not prosper, that there will be times that I will go through things, but in the end, I will be able to prevail. And having faith does that for me. It reminds me that all things are possible, that I can do anything but fail. And you may hear that and say, well, man, that sounds like she hasn't gone through anything, or that there's always going to be a win at the end. And does that mean that everything is all roses? Absolutely not. I just spoke about the challenges that 2020 has brought me, and to be honest, that I am still having to live through. And there are various times in my life that my faith has been challenged along the way, both personally and professionally. There have been times that I've doubted whether or not I've taken the right path or made the right choice. I remember when I made the decision to come to Topgolf, right? Because usually when you're experiencing the mountaintop, is usually following times in a valley. And my time at Bonefish was ending with a little bit of some of those valleys. I had a new boss. After I had been there for 5 years, had the same boss, won different accolades, I started to experience a little bit of trouble with this new boss. And that happens, right? You have routines, you have things that you've done in the past that have worked for you. And now you have someone telling you that those things don't work and that they don't actually accomplish the same thing. And so I no longer had the same outcomes. And as a result, I definitely didn't feel like I was winning. So imagine that in the midst of me probably making more money than I ever had, having my name in lights, as I call it, winning awards, I'm being told that the job that I'm doing is not absolutely what the brand needed for me. I was losing managers. And you think about all of these different things that I'm thinking of myself, the success mindset that I have in place, and all it takes is one situation and one person to rock that for you. And if you're thinking, well, how in the world could she have let, the boss change her mindset? But the reality is the person that truly rocked my foundation was me. I was the one that started to change my goals to reflect how she was seeing me. I was the one who started to look at myself through the lens of someone else. I allowed it. And so as a result, I took my belief away from the source and what I believe truly gives me everything that I have. And then instead, I put it into that job, the people around me, and my own abilities. And so that for me was a reminder to always make sure that I bring it back to that foundation. And so each and every day, I remind myself and others that it's bigger than me, that I serve someone that can make the impossible possible, and that he's with me in good times and in bad. Because what you'll often find is that you're not always able to stay in your circle of me. And that there's times that even when you may feel like you're winning, there are other people around you that feel like they're losing, and vice versa. And so it's important for me, just like we're talking through it now, to remind myself and other people that I haven't always won, but that I've been able to get myself back up, dust myself off, and keep going. So next up is how to be your biggest cheerleader. And when you think of the cheerleaders, right, they're the ones on the sidelines just telling you to keep going, encouraging you, even when the game is so far behind that it seems as if you're never going to win. The cheerleaders never stop. They're still giving you that positive push. But for me, not only do I have to be my biggest cheerleader, but I also have to be my biggest coach. I can't just be the person who's saying rah, rah, rah without having the other side that's going to push. And so what does that mean? Each and every day, I push myself, but I also make sure that I don't let myself forget when I'm on the right path. For anyone who's ever had a coach, there are goals that are established, and then it's important for you to establish routines around how to make that goal happen. You can't just show up for the game and believe you're going to win if you didn't do the practice that's necessary beforehand. And so as a result, I'm very intentional about my schedules and how I spend my time. I have to make sure that I'm spending that time shooting free throws in the gym. And I often tell my leaders and my associates that everything is important, but everything is not urgent. And what do I mean by that? That means that there's going to be a lot of different things that you have to practice in the game. There are a lot of things that you have to focus on, but it's important for you to prioritize, because you can't focus on everything all at once, because then you'll never feel like you're winning. When you're juggling too many things, you'll end up dropping everything. And now what started out as the possibility of winning little things along the way now becomes a loss of all of these things that you've allowed to drop. Another thing for me in regards to that coaching mindset is I like to plan for my days, weeks, and months with intentionality. Does that mean that things happen that are outside of my control? Absolutely. But I have to continue to push towards that goal and beyond. And that's where having the coach comes into play. Because when I believe that I can only go this far, the coach tells me that I can go even further than that. And if I didn't push myself beyond, it would be easy to get comfortable into different routines and different things that I'm doing and never lean in to the things that are going to stretch you. So that cheerleader sees me trying, they see me going after my goals, and they're giving me encouragement while the coach is saying, no, Tish, you can give me one more push-up. They don't let me take it easy. Because sometimes if you take it easy on yourself, that can be the difference between winning and losing. That one extra inch that you could have taken if only you had leaned in and decided that you can do more. That's the person that says, you got this, Tish, you can do it. I know that you have a goal to one day do a TED Talk. Today, you spoke in front of 5 people. Next time, it's going to be 50 people. Because if you don't, how do you think you're going to ever get to that TED Talk? You have to ensure that you're doing those things along the way that are going to allow for you to reach that goal. So next up for me is, how do I ensure that I'm practicing daily routines? And for me, my daily routine is very much so focused on gratitude and affirmation. So yes, I could tell you that I use a planner, that I use Outlook, and I have meetings, and there are things that I do to keep myself organized. But truly, when it comes to a mindset, for me, gratitude and affirmation and allowing that to be a part of my routine is even more important than the schedule that I follow each day of meetings and having conversations with managers or associates. Because if I don't put myself in the right frame of mind, then those same meetings and conversations are never going to allow myself or others to win. And so it's so important to feed your mind with positive thoughts at all times. There's enough negativity happening around you. And so you have to feed your spirit. You have to practice gratitude and ensure that you are keeping the focus on the positive things in your life. Because gratitude leads to an optimistic outlook. And you can only have that outlook if you insulate yourself from negative influences. Surround yourself with other people who practice a similar mindset. You're going to have the opportunity throughout your career at Morgan to establish a lot of different relationships. Some of those relationships will extend beyond college and may help you build some of your foundation later on. Some of those relationships may be formed in the classroom, and you find someone who is trying to attack some of the same goals, whether that is to, get an A on that test or just even to pass the class. But by surrounding yourself with people with a similar mindset, you're able to ensure that you are motivating each other to win. And then lastly, when it comes to what my routines of gratitude and affirmation include, it's making sure that I look at how I view myself as well. If you guys don't listen to the Goalcast videos on YouTube, you should start. I love to listen to them because they're great boosts of affirmation. And I was listening to one the other day, and there was a statement that the person made that really jumped out at me. And he said that the words that follow I am follow you. So think about that. Because when you talk about self-image and you talk about winning, if you say, I am a loser, those are going to be the things that follow you. When you say that I am a winner, then now you are able to start to look at how you can adopt the mindset, the actions, the behaviors that reflect what you are putting out in the universe. And there was a time that I didn't necessarily do a great job of this. Again, everything isn't always roses. And as a result of that, the way others viewed me often took precedence over the way I viewed myself, as well as it helped shape the way I viewed myself. I grew up in the projects. I had always done really well in school. And when you think about that, you probably say, well, man, if you're doing well in school, you're probably surrounded by people who are absolutely being your cheerleaders, congratulating you for grades and supporting you through different things. But unfortunately, I sometimes had the opposite. I was sometimes encouraged to hide it, right? To not be different than other people, to not always be the one that's speaking up, to not always be the one that is knowledgeable about certain things. And as a result, that mindset followed me through my career. I would go into certain rooms in which maybe I was the only African American with a seat at the table. And now I'm shrinking because the words that are following me are, don't be too smart. No one likes a know-it-all. And so as a result, that followed me to the point where I would not really talk when I had ideas. I wouldn't really share things that could impact myself positively, my team. I would always almost wait for other people to speak up first, so then I could feel comfortable in sharing. And it wasn't until I had a boss who noticed it. She pulled me to the side because she noticed that I would almost be wanting to jump out of my seat to say things sometime, and I would almost stop myself. And so we would have one-on-ones where I would express certain things, and she would say, well, why didn't you say that in the meeting? And I would just, my usual, well, I didn't want, other people were talking. I didn't want to be the only one. And she really encouraged me by letting me know that I had great ideas, that I had something to contribute, and that as a result, I made the team stronger. And so those things that she spoke became my I am statement. So instead of shying away from some of those things, I was able to utilize those things in order to ensure that I was winning in my career. Another thing for me in regards to how I make sure each and every day that happens is getting up a little earlier to ensure that I have that time to state my I ams, to reinforce and to affirm and set the tone for the day, expressing appreciation for the small stuff. And then remember, I said that for me, winning is not just about what's happening in my life. It's also about what's happening in the lives of others. And so it's important for me to also affirm and express that gratitude to other people. When I am intentional about that, it can help cultivate it in other people. You never know what they have had behind the words I am. You never know if you will be the person to help shift their winning mindset. And so it's important for you to ensure that you're doing that each and every day. So those are kind of the first pieces of how I ensure that I'm adopting a winning mindset every day. Next up for me is, how do I make sure that I align my values? And so I was reminded of this quote by Mahatma Gandhi. Your beliefs become your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits become your values, and your values become your destiny. And I read something the other day from a scientist at Macro Cognition that says, mindsets are what you value and the corresponding choices that you make. And so as we talk about cultivating a winning mindset, it's important for you to know what you value and ensure that what you value aligns with not only the corresponding choices that you make in your personal life, but also because there are going to be some times that you're going to be faced with choices professionally. And I had a huge lesson earlier in my career where this really came to life for me. There was a time that I didn't necessarily ensure that I was aligning my values with my behavior. Previously in my career, I was a general manager for TGI Fridays. I worked actually in Tyson's Corner after I had graduated from Morgan. I worked in Owings Mills for a little bit as well. And I was in a pretty high volume location. And I was working through a situation with an associate where I had to make some decisions about how they were paid. And this is again about where you got to trust your gut, and you got to make sure that you have that strong foundation and that strong belief, because I just knew that the way that we were handling this situation was not correct. But I didn't trust in my own abilities to make things happen. And so as a result, I followed the values of someone else. I followed the actions of someone else. When they said, well, this is actually the way we're supposed to handle it, despite the fact that it just didn't feel right for me, I did it anyway. Because I didn't want to lose my job. I didn't want to not do what my boss asked me to, because in my mind, that was how you are successful. You do what they tell you to do. You don't speak up, you don't challenge, you don't push back, even though my values of honesty, integrity were things that make up who I am. In that moment, I didn't follow that. And as a result, I was placed in a situation where I still almost lost my job. I was on the fast track of being identified for a promotion. So on one hand, winning, right? I'm participating in webinars, I'm doing all of these things to get to the next level. And on the other hand, I'm getting pulled in an office to be written up by my regional vice president at the time. And I'll never forget when she said to me, Tish, didn't you know? And she said, I know you. I know what you value. I've watched you and your care for your people. Didn't you know? And the reality is, I did. But because I got off track in that moment, I allowed a situation to happen that should have never happened. And not only did I put my job at risk, but I also did not support the value of how I cared for my people. Now, again, I said life has moments of failure. And thankfully, in that moment, I was able to get beyond that and continue pressing towards my next position, growth in the brand. And thankfully, because of the investment that I had made in other people, there were other people, whether behind the scenes or otherwise, that were supporting me through that mistake. And so that's why it's so important to ensure that you live your purpose. And so what does that mean for me? And how does purpose align with a winning mindset? The best performers set goals that are not about the outcome, but about the process of reaching the outcome. So simply put, for me, my purpose or my journey is the destination. You are always going to be striving to win. As soon as you reach one goal or one milestone, you're going to set another one. You're going to keep trying to win. You're going to keep trying to hit that next mountaintop. And so you have to get to the point in your career, in your personal life, where you understand that you will just win along the way. And that having a winning mindset, again, is not always going to be about the large goal that is all the way 10, 15 years from now. It will be those little goals, those little ways in which you win along the way. And so for me, it's important that I don't lose myself in the process, that I am celebrating, that I am affirming, that I am expressing gratitude, all of those things that allow for me to keep the right mindset. Remember, I said that mindset has to be about not just what you believe, but it is also about the actions that you take. And so the actions that you take about the journey, along that journey, will allow for you to reach the outcome that you want. What winning means for me may not be the same thing that winning means for you. But I guarantee you that if you start to incorporate some of these things into your life, that you start to think through the things that are your foundation, when you start to think through the things that you value, when you work to change not only your mindset, but others, when you work to be your biggest cheerleader, but also be the coach that pushes you beyond what is possible, you will absolutely find that you're going to be winning each and every day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Brown, for your presentation. That was an awesome presentation. I believe each and every one of you learned something from here. We do have some questions so far in the question box. One of the questions is, do you have any book recommendation for fulfilling your purpose and becoming your better self?
Wow, great question. Books are such a big part of my routines as well. When I talk about how you should be mindful of the people around you, you also have to be mindful of just guarding your mind and your space and filling it up with those positive things. So I would say that Growth Mindset by Carol Dweck, I want to say. That's a big book that I have read about making sure that I'm thinking through yet, right? Like this hasn't happened yet, rather than just kind of saying it's never gonna happen. So yeah, that's a big book for me that has done a lot for my mindset.
Okay. Thank you. Another question we have is, what would you say to people that are looking at their friends winning and wanting to be where their friends are, but can't get to that space? Would you tell them to keep chasing where their friends are or keep on the path that is set for them?
That's a great question as well. I would say, and I think I said this earlier, is that your path or your journey is your own. You know, I run my own race. The only person I'm trying to chase is myself, my goals, the things that I'm trying to accomplish. And so, when I talk about being a biggest cheerleader, if these people are your friends, then you should be a cheerleader for them and they should be doing the same for you. You should be helping to coach them, and I'm sure they should be helping to coach you. So if there are things that you're seeing in their life that they are manifesting or that they are doing that you're not, then you should be asking them how are they accomplishing some of those things? But you want to stay focused on your own journey. You want to stay in your own lane. Because if you spend your time trying to get over into other people's lanes, you'll never win a race. Actually, in the world of track, you get disqualified. When you jump over into other people's lanes, you're done. The race is no longer even possible for you. You're only able to win when you stay focused on your own path. What is it that fuels you? What is it that will have the possibility of tripping you up? Those are the things that you have to focus on in order to ensure that you're winning in your own life.
Thank you. So I'm going to put the book she referred to in the chat box. It's Mindset by Carol
Dweck.
Yes, by Carol Dweck. Yes. Mindset by Carol Dweck. Okay, so someone did write, I love this webinar. I wrote an ebook, Tips to a Better Life, about a lot of these various subjects that my 7- and 8-figure earner mentors taught me. Where can I find you on social media, Ms. Brown?
Yeah, so I love that you, wrote an ebook. That's awesome. So whoever that is, please make sure that when you connect with me that you share that, because I would love to support you. And finding me on social media, to be honest, you can find me on LinkedIn, Latisha Brown. I also am on Facebook and Instagram. Actually not at the moment. So LinkedIn will probably be the best thing. Remember, I talked about guarding your space and social media right now, and just what's going on in our country, and just the way in which it shapes what's communicated. I had to stop and say, let me take a little bit of a break so I can make sure that I am continuing to win in so many of the other areas that are better for my focus. And so LinkedIn will probably be the best way to connect with me right now. So you'll find me under Latisha Brown, and you'll see some of the same things in my profile that I mentioned today in regards to my employment history.
Thank you. And the person who wrote this, if you can please put your name on there as well, we would appreciate it. We have another question from Gia. I just wanted to say how I appreciate your webinar. You have given me the confirmation I'm on the right path. Thank you. I do have one question. Where can I find this webinar to revisit it? So that's a me question. This webinar is being recorded, and you're going to find it on our social media as well as our YouTube page. Once this webinar is over, you should be able to get, if you did RSVP, you should be able to get a link directly. If you didn't RSVP, then you will have to search for this webinar. Okay, we do have another question. How has Morgan distinguished you from others within the field of hospitality?
Great question. So what I will say about Morgan is that when I joined the hospitality major, it was just when Morgan was switching from being in kind of the economics, food, nutrition, and it wasn't really, the program wasn't really grounded in business at the time. And so they transitioned, I believe, in my sophomore year. And so the curriculum really changed to reflect a lot more of the different businesses within hospitality. And so whereas I took accounting just like most business majors, I also took a hospitality accounting class. And then I was also able to look at all aspects of the world of hospitality. I started in restaurants, and that was, for me, what I thought I would always do. And then when I joined Topgolf, I transitioned to sports entertainment. And because I had participated in the program at Morgan, I was actually able to have more insight around the different ways that you can exist in that world. I would also say that being at Morgan has given me a really great network. Being able to participate in the National Minorities Hospitality Program, the National Society for Minorities in Hospitality, gave me opportunities to connect. Even when I was working at the time, I was able to connect to so many other organizations, so many other people. And some of those people, even, dare I say it, almost 20 years later, after leaving Morgan, I am still in contact with those same people now. I actually had the opportunity to connect with someone that I went to Morgan with, who is currently living in Dubai. We are actually opening a Topgolf in Dubai. And so that connection that we've had, where we've continued to remain in contact, we continue to have that network, even as I've moved around the United States, actually put him in a really great position. And now he will be starting a role as a front office manager at the Topgolf in Dubai. And we're going to be connecting over the next week.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you. We have another question. How do you protect your space aside from just deleting social media? It's kind of hard for me lately to protect my space with so much going on at once.
That's a great question. And trust me, it's something that I have to work on each and every day. Just like faith is my foundation, I have a really great foundation of friends and family. I am very conscious of my tribe and who I let in my space. And there's a reason why I say tribe and not just friends, because a tribe is different. I've moved around a lot, and there are often times where you can make friends or have associates who share certain interests as you, but a tribe and the way a tribe surrounds you and supports you is very different.
Mm.
And so as a result of having a very solid tribe, I am able to be very open and honest on when I have to insulate myself, and in making sure that I have people who have those same values. I have people in my life who they also don't want to deal with the mess, right? They also
Right.
don't want to only talk about negative things. That means that I have to have friends. You know, I have a best friend who is a defense attorney. And she was just here with me this past weekend. And, you know, when we're able to talk about things like, hey, I saw this in the news and I don't understand it. Can you help explain it for me? Right? Because those things help form my opinions in a different way than just looking at a post on social media. Here's someone who's very knowledgeable, who understands what's happening in the world. And I trust her. So then that helps me shape how I'm viewing things. And so then I don't need to be shaped by people that I don't even know, right? Who may be, you know, talking about things that have nothing to do with me. And so, yeah, so social media is only one of them, but also making sure that you have a good tribe around you that can help insulate you is also really good as well.
Absolutely. That's very necessary. Thank you for that. And we have a little praise here. Ms. Brown, thank you so much for an awesome, relevant sharing of yourself, your gifts, talents, and wisdom with others. You are a blessing and a gift. This is from Keita Wiggins Kennedy. So proud of you. I'm so proud of how you are giving back and continuing to pay the blessings forward. I am in line with that. So thank you. So do we have, if we have any other questions, feel free to post it in the question and answer box. And if not, this will bring us to the end of our presentation. But before we leave, please do remember we have this panel discussion same time next week at 11 a.m. Do it for the gram, marketing the best you on social media. Please try to RSVP, and this is going to be posted on eBay, powered by Simplicity. And this is going to be on, this is already on the university calendars. So please do well to sign up for these, and I believe you'll be graced as much as Ms. Brown graced us today. We do have an overview of services. This is what the Career Center does. Again, I'm Ms. Angie, and these are some of the services we offer. These are your career specialists. Anytime you're trying to get assistance with the overview of services like career counseling, document reviews, internships and job search assistance, on-campus recruitment, mock interviews, and everything in the light of career development. Feel free to schedule an appointment with us as well, and you can visit us online. So I guess this brings us to the end of our presentation. Thank you once more, Ms. Brown, for a wonderful time. Hold on, it's like we have another question. Okay, it was just a thank you. So I want to believe everybody really did enjoy this presentation, because I did. So thank you so much for your time and for pouring back to Morgan, being that you're an alumni. I hope you have a wonderful day, and feel free to share this presentation with your friends when it's going to be posted on our website. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.